Hi there. Welcome to Advanced Pro University. As Daryl mentioned, we're going to be taking a look at a couple of different ways of updating your inventory counts and specifically the different purposes for those techniques. Specifically, we're going to be looking at cycle counts, which are great for sending an employee out to do a count, which you'll then review. We'll also be looking at the Manage Inventory tool, which is for direct and immediate editing of stock levels, as well as adjusting lot numbers and picking locations. And we're going to be looking at the Multiple Line Adjustment tool, which is used for listing items to be added or removed, rather than just putting in a new stock value. So generally speaking, this is for items that you want to track but aren't necessarily buying or selling. You might also use this for writing product off that is expired. Remember that if you have a question, you can always type it into the questions tab on your GoToWebinar panel, and we'll be answering them at the end of the presentation. So let's jump right into Advanced Pro. So we're going to start off with cycle counts today. So we're going to come into Advanced Pro. Now to access the cycle counts area, you're going to come to the product panel. And first we have to start a cycle count and then or create a cycle count, and we can assign it to a picker. So we're going to come to new cycle count. And I've actually started one, so I've gone ahead and typed it in. I've given it a name, and we've assigned it to a picker, and this is just a list of users for your Advanced Pro installation. And at this point, I can go ahead and filter it down. So I've filtered it down by warehouse. If you're using picking locations, you must filter by picking locations, but you can also filter down by the vendor of the product, or by the category, or by any custom field values you might have. Okay? So here we've got one item. This could be a list of items. We're just going to look at one today. And it says its current stock value is 18. So I'm going to start my count, and I could go into that location, and I could either use our scanner, or I could manually type in the new value. So we found an item. It's 19 now. And I can put in a comment. So the comment might be, found one item. There we go. We'll go ahead and apply that comment, or we could type it in right here, and I'll save. So at this point, my job as a picker, as a counter, is finished, and I want to submit this to my manager to be approved. So I can go ahead and complete that. So it's been completed, and it says, please have it reviewed and approved. So as a manager, I can come in now to view all cycle counts to see outstanding counts. We can see ones that are open that haven't been picked, ones that are or ones that haven't been counted. In progress means they're being counted right now. And I should mention, once you start that count, the items on it are locked until it is approved. So while it's being counted, while it's being approved, you shouldn't be shipping or receiving those items. So then we have some old counts that we've approved, and we've got the completed counts that have not yet been approved. And here is our count for today. So I'll go ahead and open this up as the manager now. I can see what our current quantity is, and I can also see what the quantity is that was counted. I can also see a custom field in here that we've enabled. So at this point, I can take a look, and I can say either this is good and I can approve it, or if I want, I can tell the person who counted it, my picker, to go ahead and recount. Maybe there's something wrong. Maybe the count's way off, to confirm it before I approve it. So I'm going to approve this. And at this point, it says press yes to continue with new quantities. Absolutely, we can. By the way, you can also print this off just by hitting the print button, and then you'll have a printed out counting sheet that you can go ahead and work with as well. So now it's approved. The inventory is adjusted. So now that is our new live item in that picking location. So if you're working with locations, if you're adjusting just in that location, you're not adjusting the totals necessarily. It's just the amount in that one location that you're working with. If you're not working with locations, it's going to adjust the total inventory. So that talks a little bit just about cycle counts and how we create them and approve them. Let's talk about another section for managing your inventory, and that's the Manage Inventory screen. So this is used to look at our current inventory within a warehouse. If you do have multiple warehouses enabled, you'll have to choose the warehouse you want to look at. If we go back out, we can see your total inventories, but there's not a lot of ways to actually manipulate. Once we go inside of a warehouse, we see the stock level for that warehouse. And if we like, we can actually make a change to the inventory directly just by typing in a new quantity and hitting update. and it'll ask for a reason. So in this case, I'm going to give the reason that I'm doing an APTU presentation. So this is one way that we can make quick adjustments, especially if we're not using picking locations. We can also adjust downward. If you're using picking locations, you will have to come into the picking location, and that's done just by clicking the picking location name as it's displayed, and take it out of the location before you adjust downward, or after you've adjusted upward, you'll have to put it into a location. Items that are not in locations are very hard to deal with, particularly when you're trying to ship. Another note is if you have items that use lot or serial number tracking, likewise, you'll want to go into the LS button, which will appear if there's any lot, serial, or batch numbers, and you'll want to make the adjustment to the lot, serial, or batch numbers if you're going down before you make the adjustment to the quantity. Or if you're doing a positive adjustment, in this case, you'll make this adjustment to the lot, serial, or batch numbers after you've gone and raised the amount. And you'll always see this assigned batch quantity. That is the amount of quantity that does not currently have a batch number or a lot and serial number assigned to it. So just a little note on working with picking locations or with lot and serial numbers. Now, there is yet another way to make these kinds of adjustments that I do want to talk about. And that's actually down right here where you see this gray box. This is the multiple adjustment. And this actually creates a little transaction. So this transaction is, in essence, it's like a purchase if it's a positive, or it's like a sale if it's negative, but you're not making a purchase, you're not bringing in income, you're actually doing an adjustment. You can see it right now we're adjusting to our inventory asset account, but if we wanted, we could adjust to a shrinkage account or to a found inventory account. There's all kinds of things this can be used for, including manufacturing. Let's just go ahead, let's add a SKU and a negative, and we'll take a look at what that looks like. I'm going to negative adjust an item. There's one. And we're going to positive adjust a different item. Okay, so we've got these two items now. It's giving us the default picking locations. If it's in more than one location, I could choose a different location by clicking on that picking location name. I can put in my quantities that I want to adjust in or out. So rather than setting a new level, we're saying how many we're taking out or removing. This is really good for things like expiration of product. And we can go ahead and choose the lot and serial numbers that we want to remove. So in this case, we actually have two items here that are expired. And we have to be doing a negative adjustment. So I'm going to adjust out those two. So I'm going to set my quantity to adjust to 2. And I'm going to adjust out these particular lot numbers and apply. So there they are. Now we can see that we've got that red check mark across the LS button. That means that's finished, that we've assigned the lot and serial numbers for that item. Now we've got a positive adjustment here of 1. So when we click LS here, since it's positive, we're actually going to be able to add a serial number. And I'm going to do one manually. 234, there we go. And I've created that one now. So it's a little bit like you're shipping or receiving, depending on whether it's a positive or negative adjustment here. Now I'm going to put in a reason. In this case, it's an APTU demo. And I'm going to apply that, and we're going to adjust and close. So that finishes out the transactions. Now, we do have a history of those documents by view all, multiple adjustments, and transfers. So we can click here to go ahead and take a look at that history. And I can open up our transaction from today. We can always print this out as well. So I can go ahead and hit the print button, and that's going to generate a paper copy of this transaction showing what we did. Okay, so that talks just a little bit about this item. Now, in terms of history, I would like to talk about looking at the history of adjustments. From Manage Inventory, you're going to see the history of all these adjustments, not just from that multiple transfer document history, but if we click the I button, the I icon right here for any given item, we get a history of the manual adjustments. And if we go to detailed, we're going to see any purchase orders or sales orders that were shipped or received against this item as well. And if we like, we can see that in chronological order. We can see the user. In the case of an adjustment, we can always take a look at the reason as well. So in this case, this was the initial stock when we created the item. And we can see for each one what the adjustment amount was as well. So this is very good if we want to be able to see kind of step by step through a historical range what has happened. We can also print or export this out to Excel or as a PDF. And for this Manage Inventory screen, yet another way that we can adjust inventory is we can do an Excel export just by hitting the Excel button. And that's going to go ahead and push these items out to Excel. Now we can then import them using our Advance Pro import-export options. And I encourage you to go ahead and take a look at the Advance Pro import-export video that we've done in the past under advanceprotech.com under the Resources tab in APTU section, and you'll be able to find our import-export video. So that just talks about a few ways to start adjusting inventory within Advance Pro for various reasons. So this concludes our lesson today.